Hello, everybody. So I have a good customer service review for you guys, and it is the spirit of the season. And so I wanted to share. I've actually had good luck when I reach out to customer service for various places. But this one is regarding HP Instant Ink. So I run my small business. I am a counselor here in the Texas area, and my business is virtual. So I do everything online. And so going to the stores sometimes I don't like to go to the store sometimes, especially to buy ink. And so the first time I got my printer, I had gone to Best Buy and I got my printer, and they said, "Oh, join this HP Ink program." And I already had another printer, but this was like a more of a like family printing type thing where it's just a few copies and it doesn't matter. And so I figured, okay, well, since I'm starting my business, I'll go ahead and I'll get this printer from Best Buy that costs just a little bit more, and I'll do the ink program. So I decided to use the HP Instant Ink where they count how many sheets you've used and they'll send you a box of ink before your ink runs out, right? So if your ink starts getting low, they'll send you a box of ink and things like that. It's so nice. It's simple. So for a while, it had been running really well, and then I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the it stopped coming, like the ink and things like that, for one of my other computers. So I had two printers on it, and so for some reason, the ink just wasn't coming, right? And so it's been maybe it's been a couple of months, but I really started to notice it more recently. I was like, what's going on? Because one of the printers ran out of ink and none came. And I was like, maybe I'm just, you know, maybe I misplaced something. Anyway, so today I was like, no, let me just call HP Instant Ink because I got another charge. And I was like, well, let me call them and see what's going on. And when I called, the lady on the other side of the phone was so nice. She was like, okay, let me see what's going on. And I told her, I was like, okay, so it may be coming from one email or another email. And she was able to kind of look into both emails. And she even was the one that decided, you know what, let me get my manager because it sounds like there's something going on with the account that it may be coming out of different places and things like that. So she was the one who was like, let me go ahead and get my manager because, I'm seeing that this is, a little bit more difficult than I was anticipating and things like that. And I was like, you know what, go ahead and do it, and all of those different things. And I think what made the difference is that we're both willing to see that there's a problem. We're both willing to wait for the problem to be resolved. And then on her end, she was able to see that, okay, this is getting a little bit more complicated than I can handle. And she admitted that, and she got her manager and different things like that. And I think both of us kind of were like, okay, we're in this together. Let's figure this out. Because you're giving me a service that I need, and I'm giving you the money that you need to give me the service, right? Um, and so I really had a really good interaction with them. And I'll tell you guys another story before I go. So when I was doing my internship, so when you're getting your counseling licensure, well, when you're in school for counseling, you have to do an internship, right? And then when you get your license, when you graduate, you take your exam and you want to get licensed, each state has its own requirements. But in my state, we have to get 3,000 hours of internship. When you're in school, nobody really wants to pay you for that, right? But once you graduate, they pay you. So you can actually get a paid job. Like you can see if you go to Indeed or any one of these career websites, you'll see that they're looking for LPCAs, is what it's called now. When I was doing it, it was an LPCI. but now they're called LPCAs, and you can actually see jobs that would be available for an LPCA. Um, and things like that. So the place that I worked when I was like kind of, so there's this gap between graduating, taking your exam and passing, and the state actually issuing you your temporary LPCA license, right? There's that gap there, and you can't really do counseling. And so when I was working at this place, I had started working. This was Hurricane Harvey time, and I had started working in their Hurricane Harvey on the Hurricane Harvey grant. And then I had graduated. I was looking for the internship and the different things like that. And so I then worked on it was called the PAL line at that time. I'm not sure what they call it now, but it's a PAL line. And it's a line where people call into the agency and they need mental health care. And so they're looking for information on how they can get it done. So they would, a typical call would go like, I'm calling, I want to get services. What can I do? And then we would tell them, okay, you have to come in the morning. It's first come, first serve, and you'll go through the intake process. And then after the intake process, you'll be given a date where you can come in and see the psychiatrist. And then once you see the psychiatrist, you can also be told who your counselor or caseworker will be at that time. So that's kind of the general spiel. Sometimes we would kind of just, forward to another department or forward to the crisis line or something like that. But I learned through that work that you need to be kind to customer service people because people would call, and granted, this was mental health services that they needed. Some people would call very panicky, and they weren't understanding of the information that I was giving them. Information I had no control over the agency's policies, right? So they would call and they'd be like, why do I have to come so early? Why is it first come, first serve? Why can't I make an appointment? And this was prior to COVID, because once COVID happened, you made appointments to kind of come in. But prior to COVID, it was first come, first serve. And so people would get irate on the phone, or people would call and say, oh, I went for my intake. I did the intake and nobody has called me for my, to see the psychiatrist, or nobody has called me, my caseworker hasn't called me, all this kind of stuff, right? And they would be kind of mean on the phone and things like that. And so from that experience, I was like, you know what, when I call customer service places, I'm going to call with the idea in mind that this person is relaying information. They're doing what their scope is, and they can't do any further than that because this is what they've been told to do. And when you come into that situation like that, then it makes things so much better than coming in and thinking that this person can move and change a whole policy and do all of this stuff, right? If I ever ask for a manager or anything like that, I try to do it in a really nice way and say, I really need to speak to somebody who can help me with this problem. So the person may be, saying, okay, I can't, there's nothing further that I can do. And then I just say, you know what, can you please put me in touch with somebody that can help me with this issue, and things like that. And that's usually the manager, right? And things like that. So I don't necessarily say, I need to speak to your manager and all this stuff. I just say, please put me in touch with somebody who can help me with this problem, and things like that. And so that is my story for what I just went through with customer service, which was a really good, really pleasant experience. And I think it's because I came into it patiently. I came into it knowing that, okay, this person may only be able to help me so far, and I may need to ask them to put me in touch with somebody that can help me on a more in-depth level. But she was able to help me. She recognized this is more in-depth than what I can do. She was able to get her manager. It went so smoothly. She's already sent me the information with the ticket number. And the case is going to be open until it's closed, and I have to send them some information, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so let's try to have as many pleasant experiences as we can with customer service people. because they cannot change policy. They cannot move any mountain. They cannot change any policy. Yes, it would be their manager that is going to need to change that policy. But like I said, using phrases like, I need more in-depth explanation. Can you put me in touch with somebody who can give me that without saying, let me speak to your manager? Because right now, in the climate that we're in, let me speak to your manager is kind of a stressful phrases to say to somebody who's in customer service. It's almost like, oh, now I need to go above your head. It's almost like challenging and all of those kind of things. So when you have a difficulty with somebody who is in customer service, go in it as gently as you can so that the both of you leave having a positive experience. So the way the phone call ended was her, saying, it's been a pleasant experience. Thank you for being patient with me. I hope you have some happy holidays. And I said the same thing. I was like, thank you so much for helping me. I think we're going to get somewhere with this. Have a wonderful and happy holidays. And it was pleasant. So let's go for some pleasantries for this holiday season and into 2023. All right, guys, thank you. If you've been listening so far, leave me a comment about your customer service experiences, the language you use to keep the experience as pleasant as possible and as non-confrontational as possible. And I look forward to reading your comments. All right, have a good day. Bye.